Hello and welcome to a new edition of Cairo Local Time. In the coming hour, we'll bring you news and reports on ongoing activities taking place here in Egypt. But first, we'll go for a short break and we'll be back with some local news, so stay tuned. Welcome back. And the sessions of the Global Congress on Population, Health and Development continues for the third consecutive day under the auspices of President Fattah el-Sisi, addressing the event in the inauguration session. Health Minister Khalid Abdel Ghaffar said overpopulation is the biggest challenge facing development, saying it is a 6-decade-old problem. In his address, the minister reviewed efforts to reduce population growth rates. He said Egypt is nominated to increase by 17 million in the coming 10 years. Abdel Ghaffar said family planning is the largest project that has been adopted. He also reviewed the most significant Egyptian family health scanning indicators and the features of the national strategy for population. Organizers said the event drew the attendance of 8,000 participants. And on the sidelines of the Global Congress on Population, Health and Development Conference, Nile TV's correspondent Hani Farag conducted the following interview with Dr. Frederica Major, representative of the United Nations Population Fund, the UNFPA.
So we have the pleasure now to have with us on NATIV International Mrs. Frederica Mayer. She's a representative of the United Nations Population Fund here in Egypt. Pleasure and honor to have you on NATIV International.
And thank you very much. The pleasure is really mine.
Thanks a lot. And my first question about women here in Egypt and in this field of development issue. In the context of this Global Congress on Population, Health and Development.
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me for the interview. This conference is extremely important for women because women are the ones who are delivering babies, no? Yeah. But it's a decision of a couple to decide how many babies they want and when they want the babies. So this conference is about providing women with the right information about contraceptives, etc., and also for them to choose whether they want to have contraceptives. Yeah. So UNFPA, the United Nations Population Funds, work with the government of Egypt.
What about the other remarks that you have made?
What is also very important, if you talk again about women, we have to increase the women in the labor force.
What about youth?
Well, again, the youth is the biggest population group right now, so you have to make sure that young people have access to services, access to information. But what UNFPA with the government, with NCW does, is we work on adolescent girls. We have to make sure that girls are getting the information early on so that they know when they want to marry, when they want to have children, with whom they want to marry. Girls need to be educated well, that they can make choices in their lives, so that they can build a family, but they can also be part of the labor market.
Yes. What about the collaboration, the cooperation between you and the Egyptian government?
Well, yes, our most important partner is the Ministry of Health and Population. So what we do, for example, is providing mobile clinics so that people who are living far away from the health centers, that they are having access to family planning. We are also procuring contraceptives for the government of Egypt. Some contraceptives are very expensive contraceptives, so we procure contraceptives for the government. We train doctors so that they work very well with the women on providing them information, etc.
On the sidelines of this gathering of this Global Congress on Population, Health and Development, we have the pleasure now to have with us on NATIV International Dr. Laila Bakr. Pleasure to have you on NATIV International.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks a lot, and thanks a lot because you have made some great remarks about population and development. So can you tell us more about these remarks?
Thank you so much for the question. Thank you for the Congress as well. We really appreciate all of the efforts that Egypt is making to shed some highlights and light on the demographics and on how population can be seen as an opportunity.
Yes.
Too often we look at the numbers only. And if we look at the numbers of birth rates and fertility without seeking to understand the individual, what the person behind that decision to start a family means, and how we can support them, particularly where a young girl is concerned. If you think about the average 10-year-old girl in Egypt who's really looking towards her future on how she can gain an education, make an informed choice about when to get married, how many children to have, and how she can be a productive member of society, this is where the national strategy on population and health, we hope, will be able to bring all of that to fruition.
Yes. As a responsible of UNFPA, so what about your collaboration with the countries here in the Middle East and especially in Egypt?
I mean, we support financial assistance that comes from the fund. In every case, we develop what we call a country program, and that is the analysis and alignment between what we do on reproductive health services, population and development from our side, where the priorities for any country, including Egypt, interface. So in Egypt, we are looking at we are looking at the national family planning, and equally important to ensure the community-based approach is also an
in the field of, about this in Karima, what is your vision of the implementing of the initiative?
You know, I really welcome Hayat Karima because it looks at the lifespan of an individual until they die, and that UNFPA really appreciates that.
Yeah.
If you think about the issues, for example, around maternal death, it doesn't die in childbirth just because of that instant. Looking at that whole life cycle to say, how do you ensure that a baby is born, that she also to make the choice about where she's going to go, marry, and how many children she has, and that national systems that have the budget that accommodates that. And I think Karima looks at all of that.
Yes. About also the decent life, how do you see the of services and the quality of services or decent life strategies adopted by the Egyptian in order to make of Egyptian people more easier?
Well, the last that was just the testimony to there is the it's making. We understand that there are a number of challenges, and that balancing out the with employment for social services are an important one.
Yes.
Appreciate the effort. What we would like to see, that individuals tied to the opportunities.
Yes.
How do you get more women into the employment sector?
Yes.
How do you make for sure that there's equal opportunity for education and employment? That will automatically translate to gains on the population side.
Yes. The importance of this dialogue between they have a lot of population or another have population. So how did you see this exchange of experience?
Like in my initial remarks, we don't look at population size. If you look at fertility only through that lens, you miss an amount of even populations of a large size or a small one. The important thing is to say, what are the demands that you have for services, the desires that individuals have, and your development, and how do you make sense of those? So for us, it's really much more about informed choice and balancing those out.
For this interview. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. I wish you all the best.
Thanks.
Welcome back, dear viewers, and you're still watching Cairo Local Time. And Minister of Planning and Economic Development and Chairperson of the Sovereign Fund of Egypt, Hala Said, held a meeting with the TSFE CEO Ayman Suleiman to follow up on various fund work files and projects. Details follow. Minister of Planning and Economic Development and Chairperson of the Sovereign Fund of Egypt, TSFE, Hala Said, held a meeting with the TSFE CEO Ayman Suleiman to follow up on various fund work files and projects. Suleiman discussed the most important achievement in the IPO program, which was entrusted to the Sovereign Fund, as well as agreements on companies. He pointed to the project's achievements in Tahrir complex and the Ministry of Interior premises, as well as the utilization of government authorities' vacated buildings. He also reviewed various sub-funds projects, including Education Fund, which has achieved significant success during the past few months, the Infrastructure Fund, which is working on green hydrogen. Meanwhile, Said discussed TSFE and sub-funds' future plans to be presented to the Board of Directors. She also praised the accomplishments of the fund and confirmed that a meeting would be held to thank fund members who made significant efforts. Said stressed that TSFE succeeded in improving its global ranking, alluding up to the approval of political leadership to increase funds capital, as well as establishing partnerships with Egyptian, Arab and foreign private sectors. And moving to other reports from Egypt, the Minister of Environment, Yasmin Fuad, has floated Egypt's remarks on the final communique of African Climate Summit 2023 in preparation for approving it by the African heads of state and governments at the conclusion of the conference. Details follow. Minister of Environment Yasmin Fuad has floated Egypt's remarks on the final communique of African Climate Summit 2023 in preparation for approving it by the African heads of state and governments at the conclusion of the conference. This came during the minister's participation ministerial meeting to discuss Nairobi communique and Kampala ministerial declaration on migration, environment and climate change that outlines 12 commitments by the signatory countries to address effects of climate change on human mobility in the East and Horn of Africa region. Fuad reviewed Egypt's success on organizing the UN Climate Conference COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh last November, pressing the need for activating the private fund for damage and loss, which has been approved by the summiteers. She also said that the KDMECC reflected how far the African governments are interested in addressing impact of climate change on immigration routes inside the continent, in addition to placing it on the priorities of African states to work on outlining solutions for the impact resulting from immigration. The minister was among a high-level Egyptian delegation chaired by Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli, who participated in the summit held in Nairobi from September 4th to 6th. And the Minister of Agriculture and Land Reclamation, Said Al-Qusseir, participates on behalf of President Fattah al-Sisi in the Africa Food Systems Forum held in Dar es Salaam. The minister's visit to Tanzania to attend the African gathering came upon an invitation from Tanzanian President to discuss cooperation between Egypt and the East African country. Details follow. Minister of Agriculture and Land Reclamation, Said Al-Qusseir, participates on behalf of President Fattah al-Sisi in the Africa Food Systems Forum held in Dar es Salaam. The minister's visit to Tanzania to attend the African gathering came upon an invitation from Tanzania to the cooperation between Egypt and the East African country. The minister, who delivered Adam on behalf of the president, takes part in the session of African counterparts to discuss cooperation and support the continent's efforts to overcome food challenges. A plenary discusses the topic transforming African food system for stronger nutritional benefits. The 2023 summit theme is recovery food systems transformation. The 2023 theme is anchored around building back better with youth and at the center. Summit, public and private sector attendees will actively engage in dialogues and re-energize the commitment in the food systems conversation with generation as means of wealth for the continent. Welcome back, dear viewers, and sessions of population health and development continues. Third consecutive day, the office of Fattah al-Sisi addressing the event in the inauguration session. Mr. Khair Abdel said overpopulation is the biggest challenge facing development, saying it is a 6-decade-old problem. And to shed more light on the importance of this global Congress, we are joined over the phone by Dr. Magdi Adli, Senior Manager Inspector in Health Insurance Authority. Good afternoon, Dr. Magdi.
Good afternoon. I appreciate to be with you this afternoon. Thank you for having me this night.
So, Dr. Magdi, can you tell us more about the significance of hosting such a global event here in Egypt that tackles the problem of population and its impact on development?
Okay. Actually, Egypt hosting the Global Congress of Population Health and Development, yes, which comes under the title of the Health Population for Sustainable Development, or BHDC 23. The Congress is organized by the Ministry of Health, Egyptian Ministry of Health and Population, and under the supervision and presence of His Excellency Mr. President Fattah al-Sisi. That Congress lasting for 3 days, starting from 5th of September up to 8th of is a witness many demographic, social, and shifts and they impact health. Both significant challenges to achieving the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and ensuring health and well-being for all by 2050, with more than half of these increased to be in 8 countries, including, unfortunately, Egypt, according to United Nations. The world is facing a challenge that can't be afforded by individual efforts, but one required which a high level of global collaboration and the intention of action. BHDC 23 will provide a unique opportunities for experts, policymakers, researchers from all over the world to explore the dynamic interdependability between population, health, and development through the wide range of Congress participation, which will interactively address the challenges and forecasting, sharing experience, and best practice and plans, adaptation strategies, and road map. And if we are talking about a healthy population for sustainable development, while population growth can bring economic benefits, it can also put a strain on resources and infrastructure, leading to health and social challenges. This rapid growth compromises the availability and the quality of basic services, including health and education, social security, and contribute to the rapid depletion of natural resources. This, in addition to the globally looming threats of water security, food crisis, climate change, which all hindering the sustainability or sustainable development of countries are all over the world. Additionally, the world is facing an aging demographic. The global population age 60 years and above is expected to be 2 billion by 2050, increasing the need for specialized services, including healthcare, social protection for these people. Since population dynamics contribute to the complexation of bringing health to all health systems, must respond effectively to change structure and distribution of the world's population, leveraging pool of primary health care as adaptation and innovation measurement to face these challenges. The global burden of disease is also shifting with a growing burden of non-communicable disease such as cardiovascular disease, cancer, as well as mental become major good health issues affecting millions of people around the world. There is also a need to improve sexual and reproductive health, with many countries still struggling to provide adequate access to contraception and maternal health care. And if we are talking about main goals of Congress or objectives of this Congress, which is a great event, by the way, linkage population and sustainable development. Second is provide a platform for changing the idea and share experiences of population health and well-being, while also supporting addressing the global or the issues to generate mitigation plans, adaptation strategies, and roadmaps for tackling the challenges and improve health outcomes worldwide. Fourth is exploring the dynamics of population growth and migration and their implications for health and development. Fifth is empowering and engaging stakeholders to ensure their active participation in shaping the global health and development agenda and enforcing meaningful participators or partnerships, and mobilizing resources for effective intervention. Sixth is promoting the dissemination of evidences and declaration explorer mandate functions, stakeholder population health and development challenges. If we also talk about the main themes to be covered, important event, one is the good governance and diplomacy. Secondly is impacts of population dynamics and environmental sustainability. Third is women empowering. Fourth is universal health coverage. Fifth, mental health and substance abuse. Sixth is investment in health care and health economics. Seven, innovation, R&D, and digital transformation.
Yes. So, Dr. Magdi, also, we also talk about the strategy that will be adopted to face overpopulation and the national population strategy and the general health strategy in Egypt, as it was one of the top issues under which is the launch of Egypt's national strategy. How do you view this strategy and Egypt's efforts to face the overpopulation?
Look, Egypt is starting since long time for making international
Yes.
strategy for population, and this strategy is very successful and give its goals. We can note that through many items which is compatible with the Egyptian law. And if we are taking example for that, if we are talking about even like which is sorry.
Yes.
For learning, learning, for example, since 2021, the percentage of the learning of 10 years and above is 25.8%, and this percentage decreased. I'm talking about non-learned people.
Yes.
Or non-educated people.
Yes, yes.
From 25.8% up to 12.6%. And we are talking about using the family planning an instrument in 2023. It was in 2021. It was 66.4, but in 2023 it becomes 75%.
Yes, Dr. Yes, Dr. Magdi.
Egypt is doing its best for having or enforcing the development side by side to informing the individuals and citizens about the problems of the issue of population, because you know it must be we must have a balance between the resources of the state and the growth of population. If the growth of population is higher than the natural resources of the state, it will be a problem, like what happened in India, for example.
Yes.
India is 1 billion and a half. Although it records the fifth economic in for the world, but the problem is the problem of health population of the population. If all the what called the GDP of the country.
Yes, Dr. Magdi, unfortunately we are running out of time, and I'd like to thank you so much, Dr. Magdi Adli, Senior Manager in Hospital Management and Quality Control. Thank you for being with us, and by that, dear viewers, we come to the end of today's edition of Cairo Local Time. Thank you for watching.